crazy sadhus, cutlass wielding healers, and psychic surgeons. These are some of the themes that my next guest explores on his YouTube channel, Spiritual Schmuck. And I'm delighted to have him join me today on Talking True. So welcome, Te-Devan. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate being here in this virtual Zoom space with you.
So viewers, Te-Devan is joining me from Bali, so we might get a bit glitchy. We'll see how it goes. But Te-Devan, I want to start by saying I started watching some of your episodes yesterday and I was hooked. I could not stop. I started watching
thank you.
El Cutlass. And I have to say the filming, the narration, everything about it is so entertaining and compelling. And also, you know, really kind of deeply spiritual as well. And I got to, I think it was episode number 5 or 6, where you're about to meet this cutlass wielding healer. And don't spoil it for me, because I can't wait to see what happens. But I think, yeah, it'd be great maybe for you to tell the viewers what got you started on this whole idea.
Well, this specific series in general, so I realized that there's shows about miraculous phenomena. I've seen it, but I've seen sometimes on the film people that I have actually seen and I know are authentic, and they do it in a way that I find to be hokey, and I've seen the person, so I know they're the real deal. And I said, why do they always have to be so dramatic? Like, why can't they just sort of just be like, crack a joke? Like, you can still show me a miracle and crack a joke. And so the concept of Spiritual Schmuck is, let me show you some miraculous, crazy things, and let me crack some jokes while I do it. And that was really the idea, because I'd never seen anybody do that. And if they were cracking jokes all the time, they were usually showing the most extreme stuff. They were maybe going to a psychic, just kind of a medium. But when it came to the more less common, let's say, supernatural phenomena, they weren't delving into that if they were doing something comedic, or they were being condescending. So I wanted to, meet somewhere in the middle where the phenomena was amazing and the comedy was also hopefully amazing. And that was the idea of Spiritual Schmuck. And so I had experienced a lot of these things along the way. And I said, well, I want to film one. And it was during the pandemic. And I saw this guy in Cuba, and he's drinking rum and he's smoking cigarettes in the Santeria Palo traditions. And I thought, oh man, I want to film him. And he uses a machete, a hook, and a hammer. So it's very, visually dramatic. And right away when I started talking about it on TikTok, so I started having people reach out to me from Cuba who spoke about different family members of theirs having miracles with him. So I said, okay, obviously this guy's got some gifts, and I want to go check this out. I wasn't in like a dire health situation, but I more just wanted to show people that, hey, these things exist, all different races, cultures, religions, places. And that is the other idea of Spiritual Schmuck. It's not about a certain modality in a certain place. It's kind of the idea is they can happen anywhere with anyone. And I just want to let the modern Western world know it's still happening. And it always has been.
Yes, it always has been. But I think it can be a bit of a shock to the Western mindset, especially if you haven't ever explored anything, beyond the kind of normal traditions, your Christian tradition or whatever. I just loved seeing I saw a few of the times when he was doing some of the surgery with his cutlass, and that kind of horrifies me. The idea of this using this cutlass. And you were really brave, actually, because I was thinking, wow, would I be up for that? But I'm assuming it worked out well.
I'm not dead. I'm here.
Not dead.
I'm not dead. I can still speak well. So yeah, definitely. I think the other thing when it comes to this, when you look at this versus Western medicine, it's really, I'm trying to eventually open up a door that this can be researched by people, because right now there's not really that much money for research around anything alternative or supernatural. There's a really good book out called Radical Remission. A Harvard researcher delves into a whole bunch of basically people that have cancer and then they don't. And that normally is just called spontaneous remission. But she said, that's not spontaneous. This is radical and it deserves investigation. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something that is happening, but only a little bit. And for the most part, there's not enough interest, there's not enough money. And if you are a serious researcher, you will potentially put your whole reputation in jeopardy just because you decide to research it. And so
Yes.
that's where we're at right now. And I want to start creating conversations around it and start cracking jokes about it so I can at least put it into the zeitgeist. I
Yes.
think there was different periods in the last 100 years where these things were a little more in the zeitgeist. And obviously, when you're dealing with psychic surgeons, there's so many BS artists out there. There's so many phonies. And then there's also, I would say, kind of an unrealistic expectation that they're going to heal everyone. And if they don't, they're a fraud. So, you come out with some new cancer treatment, and let's say the death rate is normally 100%, and you have 5% success with this new cancer treatment, and they jump up and down and they pat themselves on the back that they had a big breakthrough. Let's say even 10%. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're an alternative, not recognized healer, and you're having a 20%, you're failing 80% of the time and you're a fraud. And so there's not really this this level playing field. And so that's more of a longer term thing. Right now, I just need to crack jokes and show people and just, let them do what they want to do with it. I know a lot of people aren't going to take me seriously. The ones that are meant to will, and the ones that aren't won't. And that's fine. I don't need to be validated. I just want to share my experiences and what I've seen and make you laugh.
Yes. Yeah, because those of us that have had any kind of spiritual awakening or shift of consciousness or whatever you want to call it are very familiar with psychic phenomena and wild things that happen that are really outside of what we would call the norm, right? So
Yeah.
it's no surprise for many of us, but there is I think there's a big leap of faith if you're not kind of used to that phenomenon hitting you in the face. So with respect to where you are now, are you actually coming up with new episodes? Are you recording? Are you, because in Bali,
So we're gonna have. So we, yeah. There's a guy I heard about, but the monetary funds are a little tight right now. But we have almost finished a Naughty Leaf reading episode. Are you familiar with the Naughty Leaf readings?
yes,
So
that's
I got
good.
one. I got one 2.5 hour Zoom call, and we're splicing it up with some footage that I shot in India and some cartoon stuff and some jokes, because visually it's not that exciting, right? It's the Zoom call and they're telling me stuff. What they were super accurate, super on point. I was really impressed. There's a more northern version you may also be familiar with called the Book of Bragu.
Yes.
It's more the North Indian version. So, I'm pretty sure it's just different rishis in different regions of India. The Book of Bragu seems to like to measure your shadow at a certain time of day, and Naughty Leaf readings like to measure your thumbprint. So that's kind of it. And then they get into the nitty gritty of your life. And it was pretty profound. Sometimes I listen to it and some of the things they told me are, I guess some yogis had either told me aspects of it, but they kind of went into it a little more. And it feels somewhat abstract, but then they gave me some sort of worldly predictions that are easier to wrap the head around.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see if one of them that I would be famous in this coming year. So the year starts when your birthday starts. So my birthday is April 17th. And they were sort of talking about focusing on, YouTube, which is where I was already focusing. And we'll see what unfolds. But that was sort of a concrete prediction that's in the nearer term. So we'll see what happens. And also some like a partner coming in my life as well.
Nice. So
But there are a lot of other wild stuff. and I'm not going to give that away. But I think those two were
good. So what happens? Do people reach out to you and give you ideas to go explore, or how does that work?
So I have, having been tracking down yogis and saints and mystics for a long time now, I kind of have like a list already of people that I would potentially be interested in seeing based upon a production company stepping up or a lot more eyeballs on the series where we can start to really monetize it. And that Spiritual Schmuck can really kind of get to a new level. But for now, I'm not really concerned with that because I already know a few that I would like to film. And then what happens is, on TikTok, one of the little segments, it was a small one, I think it was like 40 seconds. TikTok's always banning me because they find the machete to be violent. So they ban videos, but sometimes they don't. It's very arbitrary. And one of the videos got 3.4 million views. So there was a lot of comments about, oh, there's someone here, there's someone there. But they didn't, most of them didn't give me this name in this spot. They just said, in my village, it's like, well, who's.
Yes.
So, in movies and books, it's all about the hero's journey. So a naughty leaf reading or a Brgu reading is sort of, hey, we're laying for you. And I think when we think of prophecy, we tend to think of, very obscure yogis, the Dalai Lama, these Tibetan monks, the alchemist, some book we're reading. But the naughty leaf reading of the Book of Brgu kind of gives you your own, hero's journey prophecy. It's like, hey, here it is.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So
we kind of, have some fun with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So you in terms of your list of yogis, great master yogis, are they accessible? Do they say yes to you coming to record them? Because I know some of them don't want that, right?
Absolutely. That is the biggest challenge with the series, isn't knowing the people that do the miracles, it's getting them to say yes. And then I kind of got to get a yes ahead of time. Otherwise, I go there and they say no, and I just get the experience and tell people what happens. That's not good enough for me. I know there's some Filipino psychic surgeons. They just stick their hands inside your body. So that's interesting to me. And that is different. Where in South America, it's like a machete or a knife. So I'm interested in the Filipino style. I'm really interested in stigmata. I don't have a specific lockdown stigmata, but there was a priest in New York City named Father Roger that told me somewhere in Southeast Massachusetts, there's a woman who has stigmata. That's all he gave me. He wouldn't give me more. So I had an idea of doing sort of a mini episode, sort of a fool's mission, where I go to different Catholic churches all throughout Southeast Massachusetts, asking if they know anybody who has stigmata.
I'm sure they'll tell you, right?
Well, they may not tell me, but if they get really uncomfortable, I might know that I'm close.
Yes.
If they don't look at me confused and they don't laugh at me, then I know that I might be onto something, right? That's kind of my thinking about it, right?
Yes.
So that's my take on it. That's my that will be probably a much more comedic episode where we probably won't actually show you any stigmata, but we'll talk about it. I mean, what I would love to do is just kind of deal with them. Like, listen, I'll blur out your face. I won't say where you are. Just let me watch you bleed, and film that. So I don't know if that door is going to open there. That is sort of an example of something I'd like to pursue. I mean, I've read about Padre Pio, Saint Teresa Newman, and I just find stigmata to be really fascinating. And I also find not all Catholics really seem to have the bandwidth for stigmata, and then some Catholics are really all about it. So I think it's sort of where you like what country you're Catholic, like what's your ethnicity and where you're Catholic. If you're open and interested in stigmata, they're not all down with it. Some of them are uncomfortable about it or don't think about it. I don't know. To me, if I was raised Catholic, I would be obsessed with. I'm not even Catholic. I'm obsessed with stigmata. I think it's so fascinating.
Yes, well, I'm Catholic and I'm fascinated by it. But I remember reading about is she a saint, Saint Teresa Newman? She's Okay. So I read about her some years ago, and there's a lot of recorded evidence, but of course, there's nothing visual, is there? As far as I remember, I don't think,
I
or
mean,
is
there were
there?
a lot of people that testified to seeing it, including Paramahansa Yogananda.
Oh,
And there was a scientist who came to debunk her only to write her biography because he realized that she was real. So I think there's a lot of credence there. And the Nazis came to get her at one point, and they saw her bleeding out of her eyes, and they ran away, and they never came back for her. So I
oh,
think there
wow.
was a lot of. She was also blind and paralyzed at one point, and through prayer, she regained sight and ability to walk. So that, I mean, I'm kind of amazed nobody's made a movie about her. And I do kind of hope to open the door, the floodgates for more movies about real supernatural stuff. There's actually a movie on Netflix. I don't know the name of it. It takes place in Brazil. It's about a guy back in the day named Origio. El Origio, I think Origio, yeah, Origio. And he was known, nicknamed the surgeon of the rusty knife.
Oh,
And
wow.
he would go into trance and he would speak Portuguese with a very German accent, and he would get taken over by a guy named Dr. Fritz, and he would give medical diagnoses with a third grade education and even prescriptions.
Yeah, I remember
And they
reading
made a
about.
movie about it, and it's on Netflix. It's on
Wow. Oh,
Netflix.
oh, okay. I'll need to check that
Yeah,
out because I do remember reading about, excuse me, about him many years ago, decades ago, I
yeah,
think. But
yeah. He's kind of fallen out of the collective consciousness of modern times. I mean, I think there's been a real emergence of psychics and mediums, particularly mediums, at the forefront within television lately.
mhm,
But all the other stuff has more been neglected. And so I'm trying to get into the more obscure, abstract things, more extreme, and share
yes,
that. Yeah,
yes, and not so easy to find, you know.
yeah. It's you got to have a nose for it. One clairvoyant years ago said I would be the Anthony Bourdain of weird spiritual stuff, and I guess that is starting to unfold. This was before I'd shot anything. He just he was a very gifted clairvoyant, and that was one of the things he said. So we will see how that pans out.
Hmm. So how did this all start? I mean, did you? I think I heard you say that you were into all of this weird stuff from when you were very young. But was there a kind of a defining moment for you?
Absolutely. The bust the bust the roof off or the door open was I had a bad knee injury in college. I struggled with it for 2 years, and then someone fixed my knee without touching me with qigong. And then a year later, I met a qigong master from China, and he awoken that ability within me through transmission. Though I didn't understand that at the time, it wasn't really till a couple years later that I realized, my healing gift was probably very much connected to my time with this Tai Chi Qigong master from China who was living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I spent time with him after I graduated. So that was the real big moment. And, the Naughty Leaf reading mentions, they said your spiritual awakening really kicked off in 2000, 2001. And I got healed in 2000 and I meet the Qigong master in 2001. So I thought that was really impressive. But I'd always been curious. I always believed these things existed, but I never had the experience. And then I was in need of the experience because my knee was really causing me a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort. And so that's when it went from beyond belief. I believed in it, but I had never known it for myself and I never had the experience.
Wow. Yes. You know, it's similar in my with respect to my story. I think I was about 7 or 8, and
Wow.
I was sitting down watching a National Geographic, channel story or what episode with my father, and it was about yogis, these great yogis in India, and they were being recorded doing these incredible feats. One of which was this old yogi was put into this kind of case. It was like a glass case or perspex case or something, and then it was wrapped around with these iron chains, and it was dropped into the deep end of a swimming pool. So it was they knew exactly how long he would have with respect to the air that was available to him. And he exceeded that. He sat in lotus, closed his eyes, and he was meditating. And he exceeded that time by, I mean, it was, I forget how long it was that he was under the water, but it was really impossible with respect to the normal kind of physical endurance levels. And anyway, they pulled him up out of this kind of casing and then, let him out. And he just stood up and walked away as if, there was nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And anyway, my father turned to me and he said, do you believe it? Do you think it's really true? And something inside of me knew. It wasn't even, an intellectual kind of knowing. I said, yes, it's true. Yes, I know it's true. And from that point on, I was absolutely fascinated with anything to do with India and yoga. And I was looking for someone. I spent my whole childhood and teen years and young adult years looking for this being that I knew I had to find. And then I was given Shaktipat Diksha in a lucid dream by this amazing Avadut, this great yogi, Bhagavan Nityananda of Ganeshpuri, who I recognized immediately the minute I saw him that he was the one I've been looking for. So, something does awaken in us, and it's a deep remembrance, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Yeah. I would just like to, I think that the term for that type of samadhi would be Nirvikalpa samadhi.
Yes.
The breathless state for viewers that care to know. So I thought I would just share that little thing about that. Most recently, I saw the yogis Yog Mata Pilot Baba pass a couple of years ago, and they were really famous for doing things like that for a couple of days at the Kumbh Mela and other places. Pilot Baba passed, so now it's just Yog Mata. But there are still people demonstrating those things out there. And it's just, the Western scientific establishment, if they're not researching it and it's not someone of a certain level of quote unquote notoriety, credibility, it's just quickly forgotten, dismissed. No matter how many miracles get documented, somehow it all just gets tossed away. And the thing is if even if one of those miracles anywhere that's documented is true, then it can all happen, so that's the thing I always find interesting. Only one, and then, hey, this is a thing. And it's not common, but just because something's not common doesn't mean it's not happening. And I'm very familiar with the Avatuta that you're referring to. Saw YouTube video footage of him walking, and it sort of looked to me as if a planet had gotten a human body and was trying to figure out how to walk. There was sort of this, at least when he got bigger later, he was huge and he just walked.
Yes.
It was very fun and interesting to watch him walk. He
Yes.
seemed very awkward walking.
Yes. And look, the thing as well that I've often said is, after literally the second after he gave Shaktipat Diksha, and also with respect to context, I was raised in a working class family in the UK as a Catholic. I mean, I didn't know anything about, yoga, Shaktipat, any of those things, these great beings, who knew? And the minute he tapped me on the top of the head, and I was filled with this most amazing energy. And then from that point on, it was like he gave me the key to his home, and every great being that he knew and connected with came to visit. So I was having these lucid dreams with extraordinary beings who would give me direction or they would give me initiation. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I had this lucid dream, found myself in India. Over the brow of the hill, this yogi's walking towards me, and I could feel his state was incredible. I just knew he was a great yogi, great master yogi. And when he arrived in front of me, I got down on my hands and knees and pranamed. My head hit the dirt. And then he had me stand up. And he said to me, I can give initiation. Would you like? And I said, yes, please. So he took his thumb and pressed his thumb here. And this energy just filled me again. And then when he moved his thumb away, I said, please, thank you so much. What is your name? And he said his name was Swami Ram Tirth. and I'd never heard of him. And then I felt myself being pulled back to waking. And then when I woke up, I went and did some research. And Swami Ram Tirth is very well known in India. He was a great mathematician. He was a siddha. He would give initiation. So these beings would just keep showing up in dreams, as a result of Bhagavan Nityananda's initiation. And of course you can't have this kind of conversation with everybody, right? They look at you as if you're crazy, or they say, "Oh, it's just a dream. It's just a dream." And
well, I think it's wherever you are like located. I feel if you came to Bali, you could probably have this conversation with every other person. They would listen with rapt attention to these types of things. I think there are pockets where people are, really interested in these things, and then there are pockets that people are very uncomfortable with these things, and then there are pockets where they're just not sure what to make of it. And I think what I'm trying to do with Spiritual Schmuck is I'm really trying to reach out to those people that aren't sure what to make of any of it. And even the people that think it's all nonsense, as long as I can entertain them and they keep watching, that's a victory too. So
yes,
yeah, that's kind of the gist of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to cross over the metaphysical, supernatural phenomena into the zeitgeist of mainstream Western world.
yes, which is great because humor will do that, right? It's a fantastic bridge. And like you said, if people just laugh and say, "Oh, it's nonsense," at least something has entered. There's been some sort of transmission point.
One of my favorite compliments in the comment section that I saw in any of the videos was some guy that said, "I don't know if I believe any of this, but it's really entertaining." I said,
Yes, which is fantastic.
yeah.
And you put a lot of work into your episodes because that's a lot of editing and
Oh
splicing
my
and
God. It was a lot. And well, I have a creative partner, Jennifer, and she's amazing. But the thing that is challenging is you make this thing that's so proud of and it's amazing, it's a lot. And then there's this whole other thing, watch it. And that is a whole other can of worms. That's a whole other mission. And I kind of initially thought you just make something really mind-blowing and amazing and it will get big. And it's not a meritocracy. So there's this process to getting the word out and getting people to, watch it, enjoy it, share it, and leave comments so the algorithm gods are happy and YouTube shares it with some other people also.
Yes, I mean that's a whole other beast right there.
It is. It is. Yeah, it is. But it's part of my journey. It's part of the process. It's part of the karma. And so I'm just going through it. And when you reached out to me, I said, great. I saw you had a little following, and I thought, okay. And I glimpsed at some of your stuff real quickly, but even just from what I saw on Threads, I said, okay, I think this will be the right demographic, the right audience to have this conversation with.
Yes, because the people that tend to watch, anything on my channel already have had a shift of consciousness or awakening or whatever you want to call it, and are interested enough to stay around, rather than just watching for 5 seconds and then disappearing. So it's a win-win, and I'm really glad we found one another on Threads, right? So
yeah, I've never really gotten anything good out of Threads until that one moment. So I had actually been staying away from it for months, and then I just that day almost, that might have been the first day or maybe one day before that I got on there and I saw that and I said, well, let's see what happens. And yeah, I just thought, oh, this would be a good match. Some of the people that have me, they don't really have a deeper understanding of this stuff. They've never had any of these experiences. They don't know what I'm talking about. So it's I'm getting a little more picky about which interviews I'm going to do. In the beginning, I kind of took anything, and now I'm just sort of, okay, it's got to be a match, and
yeah.
or at least a huge following, and they can make fun of me all they want. I don't care if they want to clown on me for the whole 30 minutes, and they have enough of a following, clown away. So,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
open to that as well.
yeah, I mean, I love seeing the footage of India as well. You know, and there was one where there's a lady, you know, doing her pranams by rolling on the ground, and
Yeah, those are some of the shorts. We're just trying to get the shorts to get people to watch the episodes. Just try to snag a few subscribers here and there. Yeah, that was interesting. I only saw one man do it and one woman do it in the 2 months that I was in Tiruvannamalai. Uh, and when I first saw it, I was thought, wow, that is intense. I would get so sick and dizzy from rolling for 14 kilometers, but
yeah,
that's what we signed up for.
that's, I mean, the intensity and of the longing is that's just mind blowing. And the thing is that, you know, I've spent time in India. I was there for 18 months, you know, working in an ashram, and so you do see everything in India. It is just wild, but also just so deeply profound on every level. I mean, I could literally feel this kind of heartbeat there, this very strong feminine energy was there, and it's just beautiful. It will change you going to India, whether it's for a short time or a long time. It changes you. So I do love seeing the footage of India. It's really
Well,
something.
you'll see a lot more of that when the Naughty Leaf reading episode comes out. And I think with that one, we're not going to splice it up into two episodes. It'll just be one 20, 30-minute episode of the Naughty Leaf reading. And, you know, I'd actually seen ones online where they didn't really do any voiceover. They didn't do it. They just showed the raw Naughty Leaf reading. And I thought, wow, people are watching that. And it didn't occur. I mean, I would watch that, but it didn't occur to me that anybody would watch some random person's Naughty Leaf reading, even if it is interesting. If you don't know who they are, you know, but people were watching. So I thought, okay, well, we'll punch that up, and that will be the next episode of Spiritual Schmuck. Will be the Naughty Leaf reading.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So when is that going to go up soon?
I think my creative partner is a little distracted with other things going on, so she needs me back in New York, which, you know, I'll get there sometime in April. In the meantime, I'm just, you know, doing interviews with you and whoever else comes this way, and whoever I may meet in Bali, and just staying open to whatever it is that the universe has in store, and know that everything's happening in the divine time, not my time, not the little me's time, and
Exactly.
just letting go of that sense of control, because yeah, there's no control. It can just show up and stay open.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's a great place to end this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been really
Yeah,
great. I've really enjoyed it.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. As always, I appreciate you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. So until next time, take it easy, be well, and bye for now.